Did you really have issues with that? Because it seems like you were pretty good with your
I
money.
mean,
Like,
I'm pretty good with my money. My family's really good. So they helped, and I invested it and I didn't spend it all on materialistic stuff. I bought some things here and there, but I also bought a house and I invested in stock and like I got an investor or like someone to help me with those investments. But yeah. And then, when I went through my divorce, it like wiped me of everything I had saved, like everything. So I really had to start over completely.
you did.
Yeah.
I mean, you also talk about in this book about, like, look, you had access to everything, right? Like, no one's going to say no to the hot reality star. There was clubs, VIP. Like, what was that time like in your life? Like, did you like it, before we talk about everything else that came I read in this book? I mean, that must have been great, right?
I just talked to Brody and Frankie about this yesterday because I feel like back then that was like the best time, the best clubs. There was no, like everybody had flip phones or sidekicks. No one, you weren't being filmed everywhere and watched all the time. So you could just live freely and not worry about anyone like constantly like watching you. And there was exclusive clubs and it was always, you go to a club and it's like Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, and like you're with all these people and they're so friendly, but everybody kind of understands like we all just want to have fun and be free and not have to worry about doing something or dancing in a weird way or being caught making a weird face if you're eating a certain, it's like, so we all had that same understanding of just protecting each other in a way and just like embracing life and just having fun.
Did you ever go down? Because, like, again, no one says no, like the temptation of, look, we all know how, I mean, I live in New York City. We all know what happens in the clubs. I mean, there's access to like lots of drugs. Like, did you ever feel that temptation?
I mean, that's Hollywood in general. It's everywhere,
Yeah.
and it's easy to get sucked into Hollywood. And there's after parties, and then, especially, I mean, it's like that now, but back then I feel like we were so young with no responsibilities that I remember Lauren and I, like, we would go out Monday through Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There was a hot spot Monday and like Tuesday. And then we'd go to an after party at a friend's house. Like it was usually a celebrity. And you see lots of crazy things at these parties.
You do. So, I mean, at least, and again, we're going to get into the book more, but at least you never kind of went down that road with like blowing your money, like all these temptations. Like, at least you had a good head on your shoulders from
Yeah, I
that
was
point of view.
very grounded. And, I was born in LA. I grew up in Orange County. So, and I was going to LA at a young age. I had models and actor friends. So it wasn't like I was thrown into it. And I also had my family where if they didn't hear from me for a couple of days, my mom would be like, all right, get your butt in the car and get down here. Like you need to chill out for a minute. And it's good to have that.
That's good. And I mean, I also love reading this book too, like just being a fan of the Hills. Like, I think for everyone listening, if you think Audrina is not going to talk about the Hills, like there's a lot of Hills in this book.
Yes.
What was it like working on the Hills? Like you said, just wanting to be an actress. Like now, I think if someone offers someone a reality show, they're like, sign me up. But like you said,
Yeah.
then you had Road Rules, The Real World, Newlyweds, like you said, with Nick and Jessica, there wasn't really a lot to compare it to. Like, did you have that, like, well, this is strange because I'm an actress. Now I'm on, like, you must have had reservations in the sense that, well,
I
how, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely did. But in my mind, I was going to auditions and I was like, well, this will help me get comfortable in front of the cameras and maybe kind of see a different side of the industry. And it'll help me with auditioning and with, going out for different commercials and music videos or like little things in little parts in movies. And so for me, that's kind of how I went into it. And it did help me get comfortable with not caring, with people watching and listening and like the cameras are there and you have to try to be normal and like yourself and be opinionated and not like be silent because a reality show is about being opinionated and confrontational. And that is really hard sometimes.
And we all know, look, we all know the Hills now in retrospect wasn't 100% actually real. I mean, we were all in on the joke. Was that hard? Like, to me, I would think like, well, this is your cash cow. Like you all wanted to protect this secret. Or am I making too much of it? Like that was for producers. Or were you like as on it, like, oh God, this isn't real. Is everyone going to find out?
I mean, I kind of looked at it like a job. Like, this is my job, this is my TV life, and then I have my private real life. Um, but there's a lot of blurred lines because some of my real life was on the show, but then there were storylines to make it more dramatic because let's come on, like my real life is not that dramatic and that exciting. Like if they really followed me around all day with the camera, it's kind of boring. So, they put us together with a group of friends and we kind of improvise, it's like improv acting basically.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
what percent, we won't harp on this because we've all heard about this ad nauseum, but like what percent would you say was real versus not real?
Um, on our podcast, The Hills Rewatch, Was It Real or Fake? We talk all about this. And we actually brought on Andrew Perry, who is a producer on The Hills. And he gives a lot of scoop on this from a producer's side point on The Hills. So it was really interesting. But it's hard to say because there was real emotions, real feelings. In the beginning, they would tell us where to be and what time, and we would show up. And we didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. But if the main producer was there, we knew something was going down. And he was there usually to give us a little push because it had to be a good scene. And then you kind of catch on and you're like, okay, I can't run away from the situation. Now I have to walk up to her and, start something. And so like what you would say is coming from what you would say and not so much the producers, but there definitely would be guidance and instigating, a lot of manipulation, but it was all for entertainment and we all knew that. So
And it's nothing different than reality TV doesn't do today. I just think The
yeah.
Hills was like the first, and that's why everyone was so shocked.
Yeah, I mean, The Hills was the first. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't have our hair and makeup done every day. Like there's a scene where we just watched this. That's why I'm bringing it up. Lauren and I wake up in the morning, and I remember the producers would knock on the door and be like, you guys wake up. You got to be down in 5 minutes. Like, because they had keys to our place. So they would just come in and set up. And we'd go downstairs with a face of makeup from the night before, so hungover in our pajamas, and we just sat there and like that was so real. That was real. Or like, oh my gosh, last night, like let's talk about it, And nowadays everybody that gets a reality show, they have to look perfect in the morning, and like it's not that, like that was real.